No, if their community wasn't such a pain.
Well, fortunately, I'm not a part of any
And
problematic communities, and nobody from Undertale or Danganronpa has ever been annoying, even once. Can't be. Welcome to Twig, your weekly, geekly, family-friendly news show that tackles everything from the big Game Awards recap to the grand finale of Season 4, with some games in between. I am Nerd Pastor Nate. I'm a real-life pastor of Checkpoint Church, a real-life church designed with nerds, geeks, and gamers in mind on the internet. If you're listening on the podcast version of the show, be sure to give us a good review. Click that like if you're ever on YouTube, or come and listen live on Twitch every Tuesday up until this point when we end Season 4. So you could have been listening live this whole time, but now you gotta wait a little bit. But we'll talk more about that here in a little bit in the show. We're gonna start out, as we always do, with our what you've been watching, playing, and reading over the past weekend. And I'm gonna let our special level 2 guest introduce themselves and tell us what they have been watching, playing, and reading. Take it away.
I'm DGC, a fellow level 2 member, Checkpoint Church. I've recently been I watched the latest episode of Down and On, watched a couple episodes of Blue Lock, and watched some more of FMB, as well as YouTube streams, mostly Bit Nerdy Games, Subathon, and the others charity streams for Children's Alliance.
Yeah, how did that
And
go?
well, it's been going pretty good. He raised around 100. He was able to make a few of his goals for the Cars stream.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be playing through some of that. He hates Cars. He hates that franchise.
I'm glad that it's gone well, and I tell you, that is always the way it goes. The better we do, the more ways we punish ourselves as streamers.
Yes, and the Subathon Veterinary Games went really well. He did a Nuzlocke of Black and White. He was able to we were helping him raise money for a new computer, and we were able to help him raise 1,300.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and we are going to continue doing that Nuzlocke after he finishes up Undertale Yellow. But he got through it pretty well. He beat the 5th gym leader.
Very nice.
Yeah. And I've been playing more Hawkeye Star Rail. I beat the main star for Penacony, and as well as the first post mission for that, and working on the second one, trying to finish up for 3.0 releases next month. I started up playing a bit of Old Republic due to the hour, because we wanted to try a bit of that.
Nice.
Probably won't be playing more of that mainly because it's not particularly visually friendly or controller friendly when it comes. That's how I am when it comes to MMOs. That's why I love FF14. And I played a little bit of Two-Time Rewritten, which is also it's and mainly it's a lot more friendlier on my eyes, and it has controller support. And of course, I'm bringing a bit more of Full Metal Alchemist.
Very nice. Lots of good stuff going on there. I am continuing on with my watch through of Ranma 1/2. I did watch a little bit more Arcane. I watched a interesting movie, The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, maybe today, and that was an interesting one. I didn't expect the entire thing to be a musical, but it sure was. It wasn't really a musical so much as speak singing the entire time, but it was a really interesting story, kind of classic story. It felt like I was watching West Side Story. That's the only way to describe it. And I don't mind.
Actually, I never watched West Side Story.
That's a classic. It is definitely a classic, and this had that kind of classic, iconic feel. It was in French, which always drives me crazy. I tell you, I am a dub watcher through and through, and I feel the exact same way whenever it gets to the classic movies, because I cannot stand when I have to watch another classic movie in a language that I don't understand, so I can't stop paying attention to it for even a single second. I've got to be so honed in, and my ADHD brain is like, this is not how we prefer things. So.
Yeah, it's the same thing for me with subs in anime. Subs in German, because I have low vision, so it makes it difficult sometimes for me to read the subs and pay attention to what's going on the screen.
Right. Yeah. It is an interesting way to figure out how to do foreign films, especially with the 1001 being so many foreign films and anime being such a thing that is obviously a subbed medium as well. So yeah, it is intriguing. As far as playing, I have finished Metaphor ReFantasio. I will accept all the chats in the clap. That game was so long. It was so good. I enjoyed all of it, really. There were some parts towards the end that I won't spoil any of this, except to say that it got a bit like grindy. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I have heard about that.
I
Like
think
the last
yeah.
dungeon is like very grindy.
Yeah. It was a bit much at points, and I was kind of like, I'm actually not having fun right now. And one thing I think that Metaphor ReFantasio Royale, or whatever they end up doing with their like re-release of this game in a couple years.
No, they already confirmed they're not doing one. They are not going to be doing that. They are not doing a royal.
Then I hope in a patch they will give you the ability to speed up matches, because having to sit through the animation every single time, of every single attack.
Yes, that would be nice.
It's too much. Being able to just press the start button and skip through the fight is so nice, especially for the bad guys. Like, I don't care what the other team is doing. I just want to see how much damage they do and then be done. So that is where I landed with that one. But I super enjoyed the story. I don't think it was my favorite story of the year, despite that being a spoiler for a moment ahead. But
I would put it up there as one of my favorites. But yeah, I can see it not being your absolute.
I am still too much of an indie fan at heart, and I think this story, while being one of the most bold Persona Atlas stories I've seen, it still didn't quite go real enough that indie games are able to go for me. So that was where I landed. Speaking of that, I did start our Button Bash Brigade, which is our video game club game from last month until then. Holy smokes. I'm so mad at myself for not starting this game. It's so good. It's so me. It's so my kind of game. I've literally, don't judge me, only God can judge me. I've already ordered the makeshift doll of one of the characters because of course I have, because it's so me. It's so my kind of game. I'm absolutely in love with all of the characters. I've taken so many screenshots. I can't stop thinking about it. I want to play it all the time. I literally played it from the time that I got home from work today until I had to come back for Twig. So like, yeah, I'm a big fan of Until Then. And I hope that I like Arzette as much.
Oh, dang. I really do want to play this, but I have other things. But that is good to know that it is good.
Yes. Yeah, that's where I landed. It was like, I kept putting it off because I don't have time. But then I was like, no, I need to play it. It's for Button Bash Brigade. That's a part of my like job. That's for Checkpoint. Like, I need to put this above other things. And so I did, and I do not regret it. It's just that good. And then I have been continuing to read through Dungeon Crawler Carl, Dark Matter, Casino Royale, all sorts of different books and manga and all that kind of stuff. I'm always reading something. So
nice.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything too spectacular that I'm reading right now. Everything's just kind of the usual chapter a day kind of stuff. Right. Looking through the chat a little bit, Joanna the Scribbler is playing too much WoW, watching cheesy Christmas movies. 'Tis the season. DB is also watching Christmas movies and reading Murder Trending, which I still want to hear more about. I heard you talk about it, and I'm still very curious about it. Kyoti's watching Rama 1/2. Did I inspire you to get back into it, or were you already watching it? Playing Persona 4 and Pokemon Violet and reading Mandalorian. Thank you for all those subs and the hype train, folks. Really do appreciate that. And let's see, is there anything else that we have seen in the chat? Oh, good. We've got lots of chats in the clap. Yes, thank you for my affirmation. I appreciate it. I was so proud of myself for finishing Metaphor. It really did feel like an accomplishment. I never turned down the difficulty.
Yeah, so, Atlas games are so difficult.
I played through the whole thing.
They're so long.
Yes.
And this one actually can be difficult, even on normal.
Oh, yeah. It was tough.
Like, if you don't know what you're doing, like if you don't have the right archetypes or the gear, you will end up getting thrashed.
And I will say this about this game. I have played Persona 3, 4, 5, all of their like Reload, Royal, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. This is my favorite Atlas battle system. They knocked it out of the park.
Yes,
it's so good.
It's definitely one of the best.
Like, I enjoy all the others. There's nothing wrong with the other Persona styles. I am a turn-based gamer, so I'm fine with that. But, like, they were all great. This one, obviously the best. Like it's so well thought out, well crafted. It feels different. It doesn't feel like a turn-based game. Definitely all the bad parts of a turn-based game it doesn't have, like, except for the fact that you can't skip through battles. I know I did say that, but that was by like hour 65 of the game.
It doesn't have something akin to like what Star Rail has. Like it has the auto battle, but you can't speed it up.
Right.
Like you can do in there.
Exactly. And then last
Yeah,
one,
I
Perry.
can understand that.
Perry reading through Trojan X Volume 1. Let me know your thoughts. I enjoyed that one well enough, but not enough to continue on to Volume 2 and then watching Dana Dan. Very nice. And thank you for Marlena for also those bits. And I think Perry for the bits earlier. Appreciate all of y'all and all the affirmation and support and all the encouragement in the chat. We've obviously got a pretty big episode as this is our final one. We don't have too much to talk about in the actual trending headlines, but we will get into the first one for today, which is the Game Awards, the only one for today, which is the Game Awards. However, this is something that does require like a lot of breakdowns for us to go through exactly all of the winners and thoughts about them and that kind of thing. So these are the ones that I don't care too much about, but we'll say them anyway. The best esports team winner was T1.
Best esports athlete was Lee San-hyuk.
Best esports game, to nobody's surprise, is League of Legends.
No shocker there. Best content creator of the year was Queso.
Yeah, Queso was a big surprise. I couldn't believe he won. I don't think he could believe that he won. I've seen him on TikTok randomly, and he's just like a dude. He's just a guy. He's a fella streaming from his, webcam and playing ridiculous games and being a big personality. Yeah, hilarious. Most anticipated game, also to nobody's surprise, is GTA 6.
That's what actually surprised me a bit, because there were actually some I thought could give them like a bit of a run of its money, like Monster Hunter Wilds and Metroid Prime 4, but no, it won.
I think people are tired of waiting for Metroid Prime 4. Monster Hunter Wilds has a little bit of hype, but it doesn't have the staying power of a GTA.
I can see that. So after what I've been hearing about GTA 6, I'm not sure how I'm not sure how well that's going to do. We'll just have to wait and see.
That's right.
Right.
All we can do.
Best adaptation was Fallout, which, although I'm not a fan of it, I'm sure those who are, including yourself, was happy that won.
I was very happy.
I actually thought Arcane was going to win this one.
I was worried about that. I think that Arcane was the only other one that really deserved to win, but they already have one. And I know that's not how it works, but like that was where my head was at. Was like I think that they were pretty par for the course for me. I still haven't finished Arcane, so maybe Arcane in the end is like so much better than Fallout was. But I really enjoyed Fallout and I really enjoy Arcane, and so it's like two winners in my mind.
It's almost perfect. The only thing that Arcane has that season 2 had that wasn't particularly all that great was the second part, like episodes 4 through 6.
Okay.
Those were like you could feel it was being rushed because apparently there was 5 seasons planned, but it then got shortened to 2, so you could definitely feel that they had to rush through stuff.
Interesting.
But the third arc definitely helps pay off
very good
what was being set up in the second.
Well, that is good to know, but I am, like I said, I am content with either one of them winning. I just wanted Fallout to win because I want it to get a win on its first season. And then from this point on, it's level ground. If they make more, whoever wins is whoever wins. Best multiplayer. This one sort of surprised me in the sense that I was worried it wouldn't win because it had kind of died down, but I enjoyed Helldivers and I think it deserves it for the most part. Definitely deserves its other win more than this one, but I was thrilled to see it.
But I was actually a bit surprised that Helldivers 2 got nominated at all because of the controversy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, but like that's the thing with gaming right now is it feels like everything has a controversy, and so it's hard to find anything that is spotless.
Best sports and racing was EA Sports FC 24. This category was kind of bland, in all
No thoughts. I
honesty.
have no thoughts on sports and racing. Until it's Mario Kart, I am not concerned. Yeah.
Which,
Best sim and
but
strategy. This one made me a little bit sad just because I wanted Unicorn Overlord to get a chance at something.
yes,
But
it
I'm
just
sure
it.
that Frostpunk is a masterpiece. The first one was a masterpiece, so I can only imagine the second one improved upon it.
I'm not familiar with Frostpunk.
It's a people management sim, but they don't make you. They allow
Ah,
you to make some really dark decisions. So you are like the mayor of a
oh,
village of people surviving in like the
oh, so it's
ice
like a dark
age.
version of Animal Crossing.
In a way, it's a little bit more like Sim City, like zoomed out. And so you are the mayor of the town
Ah,
making decisions for the town based around this like central heating system that is the only reason you're surviving in this ice age. And you have to make decisions that are pretty dark. Like one of the most famous decisions in the first game that you make early on is whether or not to approve for child labor to be legalized.
oh my goodness.
Pretty dark. And like there are advantages to it, and also disadvantages. So it's that kind of a thing, and it does it very, very well, and plays out the kind of political ramifications as well as like the moral ramifications of all the stuff. It's hard to deny that I'm sure it was a fantastic game, but I love my weeb games. I love Unicorn Overlord. It was so fun.
Yes.
Best family
And
game. Go ahead.
I hate that I couldn't be able to play because there's just too much to do. Otherwise, I would definitely would play more of Unicorn over. Best family is Astrobot.
I was
And
disappointed
honestly,
about this one.
anyone, uh,
I have a lot of
I
thoughts
think
about
anyone,
Astrobot that we will talk through.
I, it has its charm. I
Oh,
really
sure.
do like it. I mean, I haven't played it because the thing with me and 3D platform is that I'm at the point where I can't, with my vision, I
Mm,
can't play certain games, and 3D platforms, unfortunately, are one of them. So unless it has accessibility for me, I can't play it.
yeah, I have very similar feelings to Astrobot as I do to Balatro that we will get on a little bit later in these award announcements. But it's a great game, a fantastic game. And I think it definitely deserved some of its wins. I don't know if it deserved all of its
Yes,
wins.
agreed. I will agree with you there.
Yeah.
So,
Best fighting game before we
because
get to that is Tekken 8. This was one that I was bummed for GBZ, but not surprised. It's Tekken.
yeah, I actually thought Sparking Zero would win as well, but I can understand Tekken 8, even though I don't play it myself. Best RPG, Metaphor Free Fantasio. Now, this one actually was surprising. I mean, because there were a lot of good RPGs this year.
There sure were. Yeah, and I think that's probably where it's probably fair to say that like even Metaphor, you could argue won too many things, just like Balatro and just like Astrobot.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was too hard of a
Yeah.
sweep. But it is interesting. Of all of them, I think that this is probably the one that I would have put it in. I've really enjoyed
Mm-hmm.
FF7, and I play a lot of good RPGs, and I like all of them. But this is the one above the others that I think it deserved the win, whatever that means.
Yeah, either
For
this
me.
or Infinite Wealth, because both were really good.
Now, I'm
From
not
what,
into the
at
Yakuza
least from
series.
what
Like
I,
a Dragon is totally outside of my wheelhouse, and so I have
uh,
no frame of
it's
reference for this.
incredible. You should try it.
I have tried
It's
Yakuza 0 and Kiwami many times, and one of these days I'm
oh
going to get through them. So I want to love them because I love the memes, I love the goofs, the games that I do play, I enjoy the parts that I am playing of them, but for whatever reason they never manage to draw me in. I feel like I need to try some of the new ones, and maybe that's what will be the thing that
I think
eventually
you
gets me.
enjoyed the new ones more
Yeah,
because those are more like RPG
right,
based, turn based, and that's more of your wheelhouse
for
instead of
sure.
like the action RPG. So
Yeah, the beat 'em up
there
style
are
definitely
some
doesn't
good
draw me
ones.
in.
Yeah, I can understand it because with I much prefer turn based as well or the strategy based because action games they tire me out a lot quicker.
Yeah. Well, speaking of action games, we have action adventure, which means nothing. But the winner of best action adventure is the beginning of the end here with Astrobot. Once again, family and action and adventure, which again is not a real
Yeah,
category, but Nonetheless,
No.
that's what took it home. This should have gone to Legend of Zelda.
Yes.
I think that it was a phenomenal game. It's very silly that it didn't get anything, and this is definitely one that it.
Best action game was Black Myth Wukong. And this one I can understand. I feel like this could have gone to either this or Starblade.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that there's a lot to be said about Black Myth Wukong, and a lot of people are saying it. Mostly, it's the Wukong people that are mad about Astrobot. I wouldn't say I'm mad about Astrobot, but I don't think it would have been Wukong. I just think this is a fine place to put it. I think that a good action game, sure. Is it really just a very pretty game? Yeah. Is it really that like interesting of a game for me? And this is a dig to some and a real like lifting up for others, because other people put this game at the top of their list and it's been a game of the year winner many times over. I don't care for God of War. I think this is very akin to that. And so I think that could be something. So I don't know. Some people may be like, how dare you offend Wukong, or how dare you compare Wukong to the masterpiece that is God of War? But to me, they're very similar games, and they do very similar things in what they're trying to get across. Very pretty action scenes and intense brutality, sort of compelling story, interesting enough based off of a Western franchise. The funniest, I'm going a bit off the beaten path here, but the funniest take I've seen from somebody mad about Astrobot and happy about Wukong, or not happy, mad about Astrobot, wishing that it had been Wukong, was they said that Wukong should have won because it proved that Eastern themed games can be successes in the West. And that was the funniest sentence I had ever heard in my entire life. I was like, what do you
understand that? Because I can understand where they're coming from, but there are games over here that are.
We have so many popular Eastern franchises that have just exploded. We literally just talked about one, right? Like Yakuza, it doesn't make sense that it works here, and it does. It works so well. Now, granted, this is a historic, kind of Chinese mythology, but nevertheless, like we have some Eastern influences that have been unanimously successful in the West. I just thought that was such a bizarre sentiment to try and make an argument for, of like, this is the only bit of mythology that's ever been popular. It's like, come on. We've seen it before. That's not a good enough reason to put it above the rest. I don't remember if it was me or you because I went down that tangent, but I'm going to take VR and AR. The only one I heard people talking about was Asgard's Wrath, and then the winner was Batman Arkham Shadow, which means I'm going to need to play
that. Which I was happy about, because I wish this game was not on VR, because I actually think games. This was good. Yes, and this was definitely a lot better than what Rocksteady did with Suicide Squad. I feel like Suicide Squad could have worked had it not been executed so poorly.
We're gonna get into the hat trick, the hat trick that I'm not happy with.
Best mobile game. Oh, sorry. Oh,
you're good.
Best mobile game. Balatro. Now,
and then there's
there were quite a few candidates here for the nominations. I felt like any one of those could have won.
Yep.
I'm still surprised that Servo was not nominated. Panic only was so.
Mobile game is such a weird category because every mobile game really can be played now on PC. And so it's like very rare, very seldom that you find a game that is purely a mobile game. And so I think if you looked at these, like I bet maybe one of them, maybe Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket was the only actual only mobile game. All the rest of them.
I'm pretty sure that's the case.
But I do think regardless, Balatro didn't even start on mobile. It got mobile very recently. Yeah. No, Balatro has been on PC since early access, and then launched, and then a couple months later launched onto mobile. So it was when it launched on the Switch that it launched on mobile. So it was very late in the game. And I thought that was such a weird call that it was even in here and that it took it. But the real reason that it riled me up is because best debut indie game, our next category, was also Balatro.
This should not have won.
No, there were so many good debut indie games this year, so many that weren't even on the list. Y'all know.
Why was 1,000 times resist? What here?
Yeah, so big disappointment that this was the debut indie winner. But then even more disappointing, and I'm going to steal your thunder and take the next one because, like I mentioned, the hat trick, best independent game, which shouldn't be a category. We shouldn't have best debut indie and also best independent game. What are we doing? But nevertheless, we do, and Balatro took that one as well. So Balatro won mobile, debut indie, and independent game all back to back to back, which is just silly. It's just silly. Makes no sense.
I know.
I feel like I know that this isn't how award shows work. And it shouldn't be that, like, if one wins one, then it gets immediately, like, disqualified for the other. But if any of them should, it should be the one that has the same words in it twice. If we've got best independent game and best indie game, those are the same word. They should not be able to be nominated twice. If you're nominated for debut indie, you shouldn't even be able to be nominated for independent game, and vice versa, because there are plenty of indie games. Like, it's not like we're in a shortage of indies. They could have named 10 amazing independent games that were made this year and just differentiated them.
One of which we played for Button Bash.
Exactly. We played so many good ones. Now that I played Until Then, I'm like, hey, this game was better than most of these games on this list. And I love a lot of these games on this list, but even still, this one takes it for me. So alas, Balatro made me mad, and now we can go on to best community support for Mayfly. Okay. Although I see that Mayfly's lurking, but you can remove your lurk to celebrate with us.
Yes, we know how much you love this game, Mayfly. Best community support was Baldur's Gate 3. No, I'm not a fan of this game, but I respect it. That's why I respected it winning Game of the Year last year. But to each his own.
The fact that it has held on as strong as it has shows that it definitely has the community support. They have continued to release patch on patch on patch. And I remember talking with Mayfly about the, like, new endings patch where they just added on a bunch of endings. Like, that's unheard of and amazing. The fact that they were willing to do that they did it, and that they did it so successfully. I still haven't gone back and played those endings because it's such a long game, but I am enamored by the fact that they have so clearly loved their community and supported their community that this just makes so much sense for me. Next up is best ongoing. This is another one that I think that Helldivers really deserved this. This is the one that it makes total sense that they got it. For those of you that were around during the Helldivers 2 rise to fame in January through March, what that team did to support that game and to make it an ongoing game was one of the best, like, battle passes I've ever seen. They did such a good job. Their social media presence, stellar social media. Even during this presentation, the way they had one of the troopers come out, like, it's just chef's kiss. It was a perfect moment.
That was such a fun bit.
They get it. They get what they're doing with their game, and they showed it with their best ongoing support.
No, if their community wasn't such a pain.
Right.
And they can.
Well, fortunately, I'm not a part of any problematic communities, and nobody from Undertale or Danganronpa has ever been annoying, even once. Can't be.
That, and of course we also have Sony as well, because due to them making it where you have to have PlayStation Plus. Games for Impact was never.
I've got to play it.
I'm not familiar with this.
I enjoyed Gris a whole lot. It was a great game. I was sad for Life is Strange. I think that Life is Strange deserved it because I love Max Caulfield and I wanted it to win.
I'm not particularly a fan of Life is Strange. I actually thought Senua would have taken it.
Yeah, here's the thing about Senua is I think that Senua 2 was a good game, but it was not as impactful as the first because of the fact that the first one had kind of taken everybody by surprise with the psychosis elements. This one kind of just did, I'm talking bad about it again, but this one kind of just did a God of War and was like, we're going to tell a story of friendship this time. And I was like, I feel like Senua is a little bit more, like, complex than that, but nonetheless, I did appreciate what they did. It was a good game, but as far as, like, impact, it definitely didn't make me cry. Like, it wasn't that type of game this go around, whereas the psychosis of the first game was, like, visceral and made me really feel things. So Games for Impact means nothing. It's the weirdest category, but it's the category that I love the most. And so I have the biggest heart for these types of games because I just interpret them as games that make you feel things, games that are telling important stories for the oppressed or for communities that need to have their stories told. So yeah, I'll have to play Neva eventually, clearly, as it is the winner of this category. Next up, this one is another one that kind of means nothing because all games are intending on being accessible. I missed this one, so I don't know that it had very good accessibility, but innovation and accessibility winner was Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown.
Yeah, I haven't played it myself, mainly for the same reason as why I didn't play Astrobot. I don't know if this what the accessibility options are in this game, but I am happy that at least one instead of the other options.
Mm-hmm.
This was the only one I actually liked because I actually have seen footage of Lost Crown and it looks good.
Yeah. I feel like this one I voted for Senua because of the fact that I think it did things, but I don't remember honestly what this category had nominated.
Well, yeah, I probably would have voted for Sigma as well, but I don't particularly have much experience with that except for like Gaming University's videos on Sigma.
Speaking of the next category,
Best performance was Melina Wergens as Senua in Senua's Saga Hellblade 2.
and we keep them going with best audio design, also being Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. Honestly surprised with how many that one took home because of the fact that I really do think it was just kind of a middling game. But for me, I think audio design probably should have gone to a like FF7 or even a Wukong. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all of them do a phenomenal job at this. I feel like every game
Yeah.
is coming so far that it's hard to judge each
Yeah.
of these individually nowadays.
For best performance, I would have preferred that Brianna won.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt the same way about Anatel. 100%.
I'm fine with Melina though.
Yeah. There's a lot of crowd loyalty with this one. And so I think this is one of the weirder categories because it's like we love games, but we really love people. You know?
But
and that's hard for us to see past.
Some that honestly should have been included, like some of the actors from Metaphor. I was surprised they weren't added. Like Luis and Strolls, they were great.
Yeah.
And yet they weren't added. Okay. Best score and music was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Honestly,
so
any one of these could have won.
Yeah, music is always going to be a thing that's like, they're phenomenal things. It made me sad that this was Final Fantasy's only win. Not to spoil where we're going from here.
Yes, I agree. I absolutely 100% agree with that. And
for this to be their one win is a bummer.
I really did think that, like, I would have liked to if they got. I'm glad it went to this, but I also could have seen this also going to Stellar Blade because, of course, the beautiful soundtrack from that's very much near.
Yeah, even though it hasn't been for me, a lot of people did really like the Metaphor soundtrack as well. I have not particularly enjoyed it, but folks love it.
I love it.
Maybe there was a chance it could have gotten that as well. Speaking of Metaphor, best art direction. This one really surprised me. I guess it's great art. I don't. It's not what I play it for, but art direction was Metaphor ReFantasia.
I look. Metaphor does. I won't deny the Metaphor looks good, but I don't think it really deserved this.
Yeah,
because when you have something that's supposed to be best art direction, it should have a unique art style.
For me, this would have been like, and I know you are a fan of the Hoyoverse kind of games, or at least Honkai Star Rail. For me, this would have been like a Hoyoverse game winning art direction. And I don't mean to be,
yes, I can agree with that.
I don't mean to be that insulting necessarily because Hoyoverse has a beautiful art style, but it's like it's an art style that's very much its thing, and like it's not good. It is good, but it's not pushing anything forward.
Honestly, I could had there been more time for nominations. I honestly felt like Dragon Quest 3 could have been the winner for this. Either that or Unicorn, because I think both of their art styles were really deserving in this category.
You know what is an art style that I've liked more than every single game we've mentioned, and also everyone on this list, is Until Then. So that's the one that should have won art direction, is the game that literally no one has played. But it's gorgeous. It's such a beautiful game. And I'm obsessed. So, one of these days, my beloved indie games will rise out of the ashes and get some attention.
Best narrative was Metaphor Refantasia. Now, I honestly thought this was called a rebirth. Because now I have yet to finish Metaphor. And while I am enjoying the story, I'm not sure if it'll do to me what happened at the end of Rebirth. Because, oh boy, I that game emotionally drained me when I watched the end of Roger Base's stream for that game. Just oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to get to the end of it with Prof Noctis and see how I enjoy it as well. But that this was an interesting choice. I really do enjoy the story of Metaphor. And I think that as far as a Persona like, as far as an Atlas game, like it does it and does it well. Tells a good story. This is one that was tough because there were a lot of really good contenders.
Yes, I feel like in terms of the categories where they had a lot of contenders, definitely best narrative and best soundtrack.
Yeah.
Those
Now,
and best RPG.
obviously, my humble opinion here is that the best narrative winner would have been 1000 Times Resist, which was not even considered for anything at
Yes,
all. So,
either that or Ennio, both were great.
For sure. So, it is what it is with those. Best game direction. This is actually one that I pretty staunchly disagree with. I loved
Yeah,
Astrobot for what it was, but I think that Final Fantasy VII worked a miracle. Like, I
yes,
think that they took a game that existed in a time and space and they turned it into something completely new, original, refreshing, while maintaining a sense of history and connection, while telling a new story
yes,
boldly. Like, I don't know how you get better game direction than taking an old PlayStation 1 game, revamping it in a way that's respectful to the original, and turning it into a new work of art. It's an obvious winner for me.
absolutely. I mean, this was before the remake trilogy even came out. I had never even experienced the FF7 story.
Hmm.
So, and while I had gotten spoiled on what happens in there, thanks to this, it felt like I was experiencing what players of the original version experienced back in 1997.
Hmm. Yep. And
That's
they
how
did
it
it. And
felt
they
to
did it
me.
well. I'm telling you, I think it
And
was
I
robbed.
really, really hope that they are able to nail the ending.
Absolutely.
Player's voice was Black Myth Wukong. Now, this was a bit surprising because I really thought Power Word was going to make it to the finals.
I would have loved to see Pal World make it to the end. But alas, I think that this Wukong has the loudest fan base, I think.
That's true.
Certainly post this actual announcement, Wukong has the loudest fan base. And so they made their magic happen and worked their way up to the top. And okay, like I would rather see the Wukong fan base bring their game to the top than see COD win player's voice, you know? And so
True. That is
I'm
so
just fine
true.
with this. Just fine with it. And that brings us to our final game, which is the game of the year, which, if you haven't picked up on it already, is indeed Astro Bot, which I think this category, it could have really gone to any of them. I'm thrilled that it went to
Mm-hmm.
Astrobot. I'm just not thrilled that
Yeah.
everything else went to Astrobot too. I think
Mm-hmm.
it totally makes sense as game of the year. That's just fine.
Yeah.
It's the sweep
And
that I think was not okay.
yeah, because Astrobot shows what games should be. They should be at its core fun.
Yep. And it does it
And
well.
that is what Astrobot is. And
Absolutely.
while also showcasing the history of PlayStation.
We're going to get into some of the highlights of the night, some of the exciting things. And DGC, you just feel free to talk about anything that you would like to, but I'm going to get through these pretty quickly as we're at the 45-minute mark, which is bonkers. We've taken so long already. And so I'm going
Oh
to hit through
boy.
some of the big ones that I wanted to mention, such as this was a new peak for the Game Awards. They reached across various channels and streamers, of which, hey, we were a part of this number. We weren't a big part, but we were a part. They reached more than 4 million viewers this year, which was pretty insane. They also had several big guests throughout the night, but the biggest one for I think most of us, especially of a certain era, was Harrison Ford showing up on
Yes.
stage for of course Indy. and talking about that and being right next to Todd Howard and Troy Baker, who voiced him in the game, and Todd Howard, who directed the game. Wow, what a fantastic moment that was. And then we got a lot of really cool moments in between those that were pretty impactful. One of which, they did a new thing this year. So the Game Awards historically have always done this like future gamers, or I can't remember what they call it, but essentially like next class. They're like, here are the up and coming game developers, and highlight them throughout the show. But this time they did just one big piece on this guy, Amir Satvat, who is a YouTube channel fella who is helping game developers who have lost their job and helps them to find places of employment, find their next step, get back on their feet, fill in the blank. The piece is great. I would encourage you to go and watch it because it is fantastic what they tell. And another nod to the layoffs was Sven Vinke. Once again, Mayfly, if you are there, if you haven't seen the speech yet, he gave a compelling speech before the Game of the Year announcement. He is the director of Baldur's Gate 3 that won last year.
That was a great speech.
He gave this longer 3-minute speech, really encouraging people to make games well. I like to do kind of the Ludo good thing, which is our game development aim as well, is like to make games in a way that is good, to do good through the act of actually making games. And so loved to hear that and loved to see what he had to say. If you haven't had a chance to watch that one, I encourage you to go check that out as well. With that, I'm going to hop real quickly through some of the announcements that excited me. Slay the Spire did get a sequel announcement, which was super exciting. Sifu was a game that I did particularly enjoy, but they are announcing their next game is going to be a soccer game, which was baffling. But, you know, sure, why not? We'll give it a try. Dispatch was one that got me particularly excited in being a new narrative Telltale game. I never really got into the Telltale games, but this is from the same team in a completely different way, kind of talking about the people behind the people that are superheroes and who are the dispatch folks for them. So pretty interesting with lots of big voice actors in that one. We also got a look at before the show started at Pac-Man Shadow Labyrinth, which is one of the secret level episodes. I haven't seen it yet, but it's this evil Pac-Man. And this is, somebody saw it and liked it so much, they're making a game out of it. So thought that was pretty hilarious that is a thing that exists. We also got to look at Split Fiction, which is the latest game from Joseph Fares and his company behind It Takes Two, which is also a former Game of the Year winner. I thought It Takes Two did not deserve to win Game of the Year, but I do like Joseph Fares.
No.
And I think this is a fun new journey into the couch co-op or even online co-op gaming experience. So good stuff there. And then the two biggest announcements of the night for me, in my opinion, I know a lot of people will say it would be Elden Ring, Night Rain. I know some people would say it's Witcher 4. And for Humar Whitill, who was with us that night, would say Intergalactic. But for me, the two biggest ones were that we got a look at Project Robot by Fumito Ueda, who is, of course, Shadow of the Colossus, Ico, all of these kind of games that is coming back, making another game, making something new in a new era. And it looked like some kind of a like mecha type game. I'm so down for it. I'm so excited to see a revival here. And then Capcom also announced that they are partnering back with Hideki Kamiya and making an Okami sequel. So that's huge news. Big fan of Okami, played it for the first time this year, but can definitely remember growing up with it as an icon in every game store, in every magazine, and everything growing up. And so it's very exciting that he's coming back. I guess that means, I'm pretty sure Kamiya, unless I'm mistaking him for another Kamiya, is the same one from Bayonetta. So I guess this means we're probably not going to be getting another Bayonetta, which honestly, that game was pretty done anyway, but pretty hilarious to know that those are probably that fella's two biggest franchises and could not be two more opposite games for me. What stood out for you?
Okay, so for me, the ones that you didn't mention, Elden Ring, Night Rain. I'm excited for that. I'll definitely be watching people stream it because I do not play Souls games. And then Ninja Gaiden, Return of that. And apparently it's going to be a 2D platformer.
Mm-hmm.
Makes so much sense. Like. Mm-hmm. Then, of course, then the return of Virtual Fighter. And then it's going to be done by RGG.
Yeah, I still think that looked like so many other things, and I don't know much about Virtua Fighter, so it was one that took me by surprise.
Yes. Musha will be returning as well. So I've heard of it. I've heard of Onimusha, but this will be interesting to finally experience it.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever it comes, whenever it's released. And then, of course, new RGG's project, titled Project Century.
Looked super interesting.
And then, yeah, it did. And Clive coming to Tekken 8. Although I don't play Tekken 8 myself, that is cool that he is coming there. I know a lot of people wanted Tifa.
That would make
I
so much
can
more sense for
understand.
sure.
And then last for me was Honkai Star Rail 3.0.
Very good. Lots of good stuff, lots of big announcements. I always enjoy the Game Awards. Speaking of Humar Widdell in the chat, we did have him on as a guest for the stream, hanging out with us, reacting with us, having some feedback on some of the games, getting excited about Naughty Dog's latest project, Intergalactic. So it was a great
I'm
night, a great
very
experience.
skeptical on
Yeah.
that from what I've been hearing in regards to that, but I'm hopefully it does end up being good. We shall wait and see.
Yeah. I mean, we won't know till we know. I definitely have enjoyed a lot of Naughty Dog games, and I've also hard passed a lot of Naughty Dog games. So I will
Same
see
here.
where it ends up. But just the aesthetic alone, I'm kind of on board. And I definitely really like the cast so far and the story they seem to be wanting to tell. So I think it's going to be a great game, but you don't really know till you get there. I think the best thing they can do is not tell us much of the story. Show us as little as possible. Just give us those aesthetic teases and let us experience it for ourselves. That is where I want that one to go. If that is the way it goes, who could say? And then the final thing I'll mention was some of you may have heard that there was a new entry into a truly like famous legacy line of games. Big news. Jeff made a huge deal out of it. Nobody saw this coming, but of course the return of Sonic Racing was just, jaws on the floor. I know Humar Widdell was just screaming with excitement, just screeching at the top of his lungs. Couldn't believe
I
that we
made
got a
a
new
double
Sonic Racing.
take. Because when I heard the saying, thing, are we gonna finally see Sonic Atlas related? Nope.
No,
It ended up being Sonic, which is
look,
fine because I do like the Sonic Racing series.
sure. I love Sonic and I love Sonic Racing and I love the soundtrack of the classic Sonic Racing, and hopefully they bring in some elements of that with the new one and don't try to make it gritty and boring. It's fine, but it was so funny whenever Jeff clipped it that way. And so we do have a clip out there of the stream of which Humar Widdell's been excited this entire time to hear about Intergalactic or whatever Naughty Dog was working on because we didn't know at that point. And then Jeff comes out swinging with a true like new entry into a legacy franchise. And then it's of all things in the world, Sonic Racing. Great moment for sure. Do let us know what were some highlights of that show for you, some things that you would be excited and interested in hearing more about. But we are going to move into our main topic. This is season 4 finale. This is the end of season 4 of Twig, the Weekend Geek, which you are watching right now. We have been going since August. We took our mid-year break in July. Came back in August with season 4. So this year, 2024, has had 2 seasons in it. Season 3 for the first half of the year, season 4 for the back half. I don't think we'll do that again in 2025. I think we'll just have season 5 and it'll have a mid-year lull. But we're wrapping it up. We're coming to the conclusion where we've had a great season. Wanted to talk some of the reflections of the past year, and then we have a special little video to watch, and then we're going to talk about some of the things looking ahead. So reflecting on season 3 and 4 this year, we tried a lot of new things. This was a year of a lot of experimentation for this podcast. We really revamped a lot of the elements that we put into it, a lot of the bits and pieces, all the segments that make it up. We tried a lot of new things. For instance, the original iteration of the show had us going through 6 different news articles. We took that down to 3 and then did a main segment. So instead of just talking about the news, we also would dive into some kind of theme topic. And we've had some fantastic topics. We started off strong in season 4 with a D&D topic on the Deborah Ann Wall conversation. We have talked about getting out of the blues as a gamer. We have talked about games in regards to like what's coming next, games that can make us better Christians. We've talked about the Vatican. We've talked about a lot of different things in regards to gaming and Christianity and the faith that it brings to us. And so that has been an interesting element in the show. We refreshed our upcoming feed. So for those of you that have been watching since season 1, you'll remember that we used to go through, I kid you not, every single upcoming movie, game, book, TV show, everything, every single week. It was so much. And so we took that and we said, hey, have a feeling nobody's actually hearing all the things we're saying. So instead, let's just talk about 3 things each that we are excited about coming up. And that has been a huge boon in our favor, I believe. And then also the new logo, which you can see down here in the little slideshow. Designed that logo myself this year for the launch of the new season, and I'm proud of it. I think it looks great. We also started posting our twigs over onto what I called benevolently our Twig Talk. I thought that was a clever name, but I got a new phone and I lost the password, and it has a double authenticator. And so I will never again be able to log in to Twig Talk. So Twig Talk just exists in a liminal space and it will never be able to get into again. So if you want to go follow us on Twig Talk on TikTok, then you can. But all shorts for Twig will probably just end up being posted to YouTube, which, hey, odds are TikTok's closing down anyway. So, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, especially in regards to like the ban.
Yes. So it didn't, mean that much in the grand scheme of things, but I have no idea how to ever log back into that again. I keep such good track of my passwords. And I was so disappointed that I couldn't find it. But for some reason, whenever I made Twig Talk, I did not decide to set up my password thingy. So, oh well, that is the way that it goes. Them's the breaks. Any reflections you would like to offer, DGC? I know that you've only been on the past couple episodes and you have been an avid listener of Twig, but what are some reflections you might have?
Nothing really much. I've enjoyed listening to you guys talk about certain topics and playing through Cryptic Critiques and talking about stuff that I've released in the past with at this point in nerd history, and getting excited for new stuff that's coming up.
Yes. I think it's a good show, and I think it does what it needs to do and does it very well. But we do still have some plans for the future. But before we get to that, I'm going to show you a quick video of some of our previous hosts in season 3 and 4, talking a little bit about their reflections as well. So I'm going to turn it to them. Everybody enjoy this quick little look down memory lane. The first one is a movie that is doing pretty well from Coppola, Metalocalypse from Adult Swim is getting a movie adaptation by Francis Ford Coppola.
I just wanted to reflect a little bit on Twig from this past year, season 4. It's been, I think, one of the more experimental seasons of the show. Each season's been a little different, but I know Pastor Nate tried a lot of new things this season with different segments and kind of upping the ante in a lot of ways. The one moment that stands out to me, which I'm sure it does for a lot of folks, is the reflection we did early on in the season when Mayfly co-hosted regarding John Bernthal's Real Ones podcast, the exploration of D&D.
He is so incredibly, and the word that I put down here is literally graceful. Like, she is grace-filled.
Checkpoint as an environment is so open and so welcoming, and how do we implement that in the traditional church space? Because it has not traditionally been, as open and welcoming as, we get so many people on the Discord being like, I finally feel like I can be myself here. How do we make every space like that?
I think it's just such a great moment for showing how something that can be so intimidating to somebody who's maybe not of a certain group of nerd culture can get introduced to something and be so excited about it when it's framed in the right way and folks are given a chance to be curious and playful with it and not intimidated by how many rules or how complicated or how in-depth it needs to be or how strongly passionate somebody is in perhaps a scary way. So I just think it's really great that we were able to highlight that, especially as what Nerd Pastor Nate does and what Checkpoint Church stands for in terms of inclusiveness and welcoming people in from all walks of nerdy life. I think it's really great to be able to highlight something like that. It really speaks to the message of the church and to what the podcast is representing.
Every day I'm struggling.
Yep. On any given day, we could use some support.
Hey everybody, Mike Sneaky here. Just want to say thank you for being a part of Twig this season and for watching us on Twitch or listening to us on whatever platform you listen to us on. It has been a blast to dissect the nerdy news that's been happening and to reflect on some of the nerdy history of things that happened throughout the year. But I will say my all-time favorite segment of the show is our 1-star reviews.
With that, we're going to get into everybody's favorite segment of the show that we have not been able to play in a particularly long time. So without further ado, let's get into it. Cryptic Critiques.
And I don't know about you guys, but have you ever watched a show where it's a quiz show, some type of show, the contestant misses a completely obvious clue. And as you're sitting there and you're like, how did you miss that? How did you not get that? I now understand.
Are you prepared? Are you emotionally here? I will say, I think this is a really tough one.
Well, you know, and here's the thing. I'm already bad at these kind of games anyway, so, like, I'm just going to live up to the fact that I'm not going to get it.
I now understand and will never criticize another contestant for missing an obvious clue. I'm going to tell you guys, when Nate is sitting there and he is throwing those one-star reviews at you and you're trying to figure out what game it is, like, your brain just, like, goes empty, like, devoid of all thought and putting those connections together.
Why can't I think of it?
Yeah, really fun and looking forward to continuing that.
Again, if you're listening to this, hey, you know, stay in your lane, right? Like, Checkpoint Church is here. We were here first. We did the popular media and spiritual themes thing. Like, what are you doing? I'm not. How am I supposed to compete with the Vatican?
Right,
You know?
the Pope.
Hello, long time no see to many of you, to probably quite a few of you. I am a new face. 'Tis I, the Mayfly. I wanted to pop in for the season finale of Twig and just say a quick little hello and goodbye to this season of Twig, I guess. It's been a long one that I have been in quite a few episodes of, from ranting about Dune to all of my masterful cryptic critiques, because I'm great.
All right, number 3 is needs less gun-charted and more fun.
I knew that I was right. I knew I was right. No, it's Tomb Raider, and it's got to be the 2013 one, because I always talk about, it's got to be the 2013 reboot, because I always talk about how that one's my favorite out of all 3 of them, and how I hate Rise of the Tomb Raider, and how that one and Shadow are the best out of the 2, and Rise of can go in a well.
You are correct.
No, but it was a lot of fun, and I had a good time doing it, and I look forward to kind of the rest of the seasons and how everything goes. So looking forward to the rest of the stream, and I just wanted to pop in and say hi. Bye.
Excited to see what the team comes up with in season 5. So looking forward to 2025 with y'all.
I'm really excited about the upcoming season and what we're going to be doing with Twig, and I hope you will continue to follow us along. But thank you guys again. Appreciate you so much.
So there you go. That is our reflection on Twig Season 4. Thanks to all the hosts that were able to get their clips into me. And for everybody that wasn't able to get clips in there, thank you as well for hosting and for being a part of the show. I so appreciate everyone for supporting Twig, for watching it, for being a part of it in the audience as well, for supporting it in our funders at the end, where we talk about the folks that have subscribed to the channel, all that kind of stuff. It has been a gift and an honor for 4 seasons, and we're going to keep on going, but we are going to be changing some things. And so as we look ahead to season 5, we will have lots of announcements. We will have lots of things coming up in the next couple of weeks, especially as we get into January, on what you can expect about the win. So, for instance, will we stay on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern? Probably, but that will be a little bit pending. So we will let you know whenever we do an official announcement. We'll do a kickoff of like season 5 is coming back. I'll put a little video out there for you to see. My game plan is to return the last week of January. So if you haven't heard anything by then, something has gone wrong, but odds are you will hear about it by the middle of January, and we'll be excited and anticipating it in the near future. Talking about some of the stuff that could be happening. We have some things that are like definitely going to happen. We have some things that I want to happen, but who knows what will go on. One thing that is something I will be doing more intentionally, which is our word of the year for 2025 here at Checkpoint. One area of intentionality will be Twig started out as a nerdy news show from a family-friendly perspective that also provided a faithful approach. And so we wanted to look at nerdy news in a way that incorporated our general rules that we got from the father of Methodism, John Wesley. And so we always say we explore the rules of doing good, doing no harm, and striving to grow. We look at those 3 things as a means to become better Christians, better people, better whatever we are in this space. And so we are going to be doing that. We're going to do a little bit more intentional approach to that, whether that is literally listing out the 3 things at the beginning of each show or during the news or trying to throw in some of that into our segments, that kind of stuff. I don't know what it's going to look like, but that is something that I know that I want to happen. Another goal that I'm setting for myself, some of you may remember, we had Hugh Marwitt Ill, we had Steve from Save Point. We've had some special guests that have hopped into the show. I think Dave has even hopped in the show, David Petty from Crossfire at one point. So we've had some guests this year, but I want to get even more special guests beyond our level 2. As much as I appreciate the wonderful folks of level 2 hopping in, I would love to see even more special guests joining us during the show. That's a super fun element of it, and I think it's something that is totally manageable, so we'll try and do that some more this year. And then just like you just saw, I want to create more of that kind of packaged montage content, stuff that's already put together and maybe a little bit more flashy than a live stream. And that is something that I'm hopeful for more this year. Also, something that has been long, not demanded necessarily, but long asked about, and that is some Twig merch. So we're going to be working on some merch for what we're doing here, whether that's like a hoodie or stickers or I don't know what you guys want, a hat, whatever we're interested in having. Maybe like, oh gosh, what are they called? Like a pouch that you can put your own twigs in. That could be a fun thing that we could do. We'll see what we end up doing with the merch, but I want us to have some merch for Twig, and maybe we'll even partner with the DLC and Mana and Mingle checkbox and provide some of our merch for free via our checkbox. We will see when we get there. And then another thing that I want to do is include you more in the conversation. So we start off each stream with our question of the day and want you to engage with that, but I want you to be even more engaged than that. And so we're going to start thinking about how we can engage with your comments, how we can let you into the conversation in even more tangible ways, or maybe with polls in each episode, something to encourage more audience engagement. Those are things that I'm definitely wanting to explore in a bigger light. And another thing, this is just for us, but we want to take this podcast a little bit more seriously as a means to sustainability for Checkpoint. It takes money to run a church. It takes money to do these things. And so while we do shout out our subscribers on Twitch at the end of each show, we're going to start throwing in some fun ads, some fun things in there that will be able to hopefully better support our show. So that's another element that we want to bring in the new year. And then our final bit of big news, the last big thing, this is probably the biggest announcement that we've got, is those of us that have been around with Twig since season 1, y'all, we've been on Twitch every single Tuesday or Thursday or whatever day it has been. But I think the time has come that we're going to say goodbye to Twitch on Twig. So we're going to consider restreaming onto multiple platforms, but we are definitely making the move to YouTube as our main platform for Twig. So we are still going to be live streaming. We're still going to be doing everything the exact same way that you have come to know and love it, but we just probably won't be doing that on Twitch as our primary platform. We are wanting to make that leap and that jump just of kind of the environment that we see on YouTube, the purpose that we have behind this podcast, and the goals that we have for what we want to be in the future. It just makes a lot more sense for us to be on that platform as our number one platform. And it doesn't mean that our streams are going to be moving away from Twitch anytime soon, but it does mean that our Twig show is going to be moving. And this is also hope that we might be able to lean a little bit further into the ads element, lean a little bit further into our control over our ads. We haven't really been able to do that in quite the way that is effective here on Twitch, where we kind of don't have much control. And I just think there's a bigger future on YouTube. So that's the biggest part of the news. We're not sad about it. We're excited about it. We are sad for anybody that won't make the leap over with us from Twitch. We hope that you will, in the same way that we hope that you'll join our Discord if you haven't, because that is where the real community happens. But this show will definitely be making the leap. And yes, co-stream, we'll see. We'll see about a restream. We'll see about sharing the stream or a multi-stream situation. I am not convinced that that is the best way forward, but we'll see. We'll see when we get there. We're going to experiment with that at the start of season 5 before we kind of officially land. But when you see the promotional materials, when you see the ad for Twig season 5, when you see all that kind of stuff come out in January, it is going to be branded for YouTube. So just be aware that that is what is ahead for us there. And I agree, Marlena, there is sad to see anything come to an end. I love Twitch. I have loved Twitch for a long time, the platform that really birthed Checkpoint in a lot of ways. And so, yeah, I'm still figuring out our new relationship with Twitch as we continue to figure out what the future holds for Checkpoint, but it is pretty obvious that YouTube has clicked better with us. It doesn't take long for you to go see our subscriber numbers over on YouTube and to know that that is where we are being more effective for our ministry. So it is kind of a weird spot to be in, but we're going to do our best to move forward as adequately as possible and make sure that the Twitch community still feels seen and heard and known and loved with the love of Jesus in whatever way we can do. So there we go. That's the end of this segment. Thank you for watching through Twig Season 4 finale. We're now going to move into everybody's favorite segment of the show, which is, of course, Cryptic Critiques. That's right, it's time for everyone's favorite game, Cryptic Critiques. This is the game show of bad reviews for beloved games. I've scoured the internet to find 3 of the funniest bad reviews I could for popular games. I'm going to deliver them one at a time to our special guest of the week, who this week is DGC. Play along with us, see if you can figure it out before clue number 3. But if you are watching live, remember, do not send your guesses until the guest gets to give their final choice at the end of the 3rd prompt. DGC, are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Let's see it. You knocked it out of the park last week, so we will see how this week goes for you. First clue is not cinema, just a theme park ride. Not cinema, just a theme park ride. A bit vague. A bit vague. Probably couldn't get anything off of that unless you're, just really a savant. All right, ready for prompt number 2?
Yeah, I think. Yes.
All right. Yeah, you're probably going to get it. If you see the game say there is a 5th chapter, do not open it. It is a virus, and it will brick your Nintendo DS. If you see the game say that there is a 5th chapter, do not open it. It is a virus, and it will brick your Nintendo DS. I thought about not including the console, but I did anyway. I'm glad it didn't give it away right away. That makes me happy.
I'm not sure on this one.
Good. That makes me happy that you didn't get it. I was so worried that was going to be a dead giveaway. But now the 3rd prompt, almost certainly. Maybe not, because like Sneaky said, sometimes under the pressure, it can be hard to remember what games you've ever played before. Prompt number 3, these games have next to nothing to do with any even passing semblance to a court of law. These games have... It You are correct. It is indeed Ace Attorney, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. Of course, the court of law would give it away. And for those of you that have never played the very first Phoenix Wright, there is a bonus case that is included on the Nintendo DS that is the 5th case.
It's Rise to Ashes. I forgot about the virus thing. Right.
Yeah, so it is not a good chapter. And so this person was just trying to help people maybe just not play it.
The issue with it is that it was too long and also really has one of the worst segments in that chapter with the blue badger.
Yes.
That badger will forever be cursed.
So good. It's so good. I love Ace Attorney. And so like literally even the bad cases I love from the bottom of my heart. But yeah. Oh, good one. I'm going to give you, I had one bonus clue in case you didn't get it, but I was certain you were going to get it from that one. But this review made me laugh so hard. And so I had to read it out. So this is the bonus one. Shu Takumi, more like honk Shu Takumi, and the sleeping. It's so good. So yeah, a lot of the 1-star reviews were hilarious because they were like, this game is so boring. This game is putting me to sleep.
I disagree.
And I was like, y'all are dead wrong. You just don't like visual novels. Like you're complaining about a book having words. Like this is, you don't get it. You don't get what you're even experiencing right now. But
exactly.
Yeah.
So I will say this first entry, of course, was solid, but it's not as good as the other entries that happened later on.
I enjoy
especially
the
third game.
I mean, all of them. All of them are so good. But the trilogy, the first trilogy is my favorite. As much as I enjoy Apollo, this first trilogy is so solid. And to be fair, my favorite books have pictures. This is just pictures and words. There's so many pictures.
Yes.
But yes. Yeah. It was a lot of fun finding the bad reviews for this because there is nothing anyone can say about this game that will hurt my feelings. It is perfection. And so I just got to enjoy seeing people be wrong in their opinions. And that was a true delight. But congratulations.
Yeah.
Chats in the clap. 100% chats in the clap for DGC. Nailing it. A 2 for 2 weeks in a row. 2 for 2. You absolutely nailed it. GG's, as they say.
It's always, these are always fun. Always. Because I don't remember all that I put on the list, but I always am intrigued to see how you're gonna stump me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I've been wanting to do Ace Attorney for a long time, and so you're just the first person that's actually played it.
Oh,
not many people have played it in my circles, and so I am typically the Ace Attorney fan. So I appreciated having somebody that I.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that.
Joanna, if I'd known, I could have given you a hard time about it as well. Joanna has also guested, so maybe next time we'll do another Ace Attorney game. I've got to be long enough that you forget that we've ever had this conversation, but we will get there someday.
Yeah.
All right, with that, we're going to continue trucking along with the rest of the show into my favorite segment, which is, of course,
At This Point in Nerd History.
That's right. It's time for At This Point in Nerd History. We're going to talk about everything that released on this exact day of December 17th throughout time and space. Well, then we'll start with games that released again on December 17th. We have in 2021, Vampire Survivors, My Beloved, launched into early access in that day on this year. 2010, Papa's Burgeria. We had this conversation recently about the Papa series, and I had to mention it. 2009, Fallout 3 Game of the Year edition released. 1992, Kirby's Dream Land, a true icon. 1991, another icon of a different flavor, Lemmings, launched. 1988, I think a game that we did not get in the West for quite a while, Final Fantasy II. And then 1987, Rockman was released in Japan for the Famicom, which is, of course, the alter ego for Mega Man. So pretty fun fact there. An interesting random fact in television, in 1976 on this day, WTCG TV, Atlanta, Georgia, changed its call letters to WTBS and was uplinked via satellite. The station became the first commercial TV station to cover the entire United States.
In movies, 2021, we had Spider-Man No Way Home. In 2014, we had The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies. In 2010, we had Tron Legacy. In 2004, we had Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events. In 2003, we had The Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. In 1999, we had Stuart Little. And in 1959, we had the film On the Bench, premiered in New York City and in 17 other cities. It was the first motion picture to debut simultaneously in major cities around the world.
Pretty big deal.
Cool.
All right, and then the last fact is a random one. This is just for fun. It is the birthday of the one-way street. 1791, a traffic regulation in New York City established the first street that would go one way. So pretty interesting stuff going on. That one's not really nerdy in any kind of pop culture sense. That's just nerdy because it's a fun fact. But this has been, of course, not everybody's favorite segment, but my favorite segment. It could be everybody's favorite segment after the Checky Awards this year. We shall see. But for now, my favorite segment of the show at this point in nerd history. And with that, we will get into the next segment of the show, which is, of course, upcoming releases. This is where we're going to talk about some of the things that are coming out in the next week or so that we are excited about. And I will let our guest start with their first one.
My first one is Project Eden's Garden will be releasing its first chapter on the same day, apparently, as Sonic 3.
Love it. And that leads directly into my next one, which is Sonic the Hedgehog 3. I'm super excited for it to come out. I love these movies. They're so camp. They're so cheesy. And they already are doing my favorite thing, which is the celebrity tours. And so I have seen so much Ben Schwartz on my TikTok feed over the past couple days, and it brings me so much joy. But Sonic the Hedgehog, of course, is returning to the big screen in the holiday season for the most thrilling adventure yet. Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails reunite against a powerful new adversary, Shadow, a mysterious villain with powers unlike anything they have faced before. With their abilities outmatched in every way, Team Sonic must seek out an unlikely alliance in hopes of stopping Shadow and protecting the planet. Next up.
My second one is I'm looking forward to our Checkmas party, which will be this Sunday.
Yep, looking forward to
that. I can't wait to open up. Yeah, I can't wait to open up my gift.
It's going to be fun. I love Checkmas, and it's a good time. We will have, for those of you that didn't get to sign up for a gift in time, we will still have other things going on. We will be able to get together and play some games, hang out during that time. Of course, take communion at the 9 o'clock mark for those of you that would like to do that, or just receive a quick blessing, as we are a church during that time as well. But we'll also just have a good get together and experience some fun times. Always love Checkmas. With that, we'll get into my second one, which is The Brutalist. Escaping post-war Europe, visionary architect Laszlo Toth arrives in America to rebuild his life, his work, and his marriage to his wife, Erzsébet, after being forced apart during wartime by shifting borders and regimes. On his own in a strange new country, Laszlo settles in Pennsylvania, where the wealthy and prominent industrialist Harrison Lee Van Buren recognizes his talent for building. But power and legacy come at a heavy cost. This is the latest A24 film that is doing very, very well in the box office stuff. Not box office stuff, excuse me, in the tour stuff. So like the festivals that are viewing it, they say this is one of the films of the year. And I do also love Adrian Brody, and I also love A24 films for the most part. So I'm looking forward to watching this. I'm not the biggest historical fiction kind of, not historical fiction, but historical retelling, whatever this is, a historical adaptation, whatever they want to name it as, if this person is a real person. I have a feeling he probably is, but the story is obviously fictionalized in certain elements. I don't know. We'll see. Not my favorite genre, but definitely some of my favorite actors and favorite production companies. So good stuff. Next up.
All right. Last one I am excited for is the final saga of epic musical. The Ithaca Saga will be releasing on December 25th.
Christmas Day. Bold move, Cotton.
Mm-hmm.
You'll love to see it.
Yes.
It's a lot of fun. Maybe I'll finally watch it. I've got to watch it eventually. The whole thing will release on Christmas Day, or it will start on Christmas Day?
No, that's when it's going to end. That is the last saga of the Odyssey arc.
Okay.
And that, yeah.
Interesting. Well, then I can definitely watch it. Post-Christmas is when my Epic the Musical deep dive starts, because it's wrapping up. I'll look forward to that. I'm sure I'll end up writing an early segment on it or something, because everybody loves it so much. So I'm going to fall head over heels. It's my kind of thing, clearly, because my people that love my other things love this thing. And I'm curious about it and have been for quite a while, but hold your horses before we get to how I actually feel about it post-Christmas season. Last but not least, Mufasa, the Lion King. I have two little girls that love the Lion King, and so they are super excited for this one. I have a feeling we'll probably wait for it to not be in theaters, because I can imagine there might be some terrifying elements in this one, and I would rather them not be in the theater to freak out for it. So we'll probably be watching this one from the comfort of our living room, but I'm excited for it nonetheless. Mufasa the Lion King, exploring the unlikely rise of the beloved king of the Pride Lands, Mufasa. The Lion King enlists Rafiki to relay the legend of Mufasa to young lion cub Kiara, daughter of Simba and Nala, with Timon and Pumbaa lending their signature shtick. Told in flashbacks, the story introduces Mufasa as an orphaned cub, lost and alone until he meets a sympathetic lion named Taka, the heir to a royal bloodline. The chance meeting sets in motion an expansive journey of an extraordinary group of misfits searching for their destiny. Their bonds will be tested as they work together to evade a threatening and deadly foe. We'll see. We'll see how it does. I hear it's doing pretty well, and I, contrary to popular belief, thought or maybe I think it actually did pretty well, but I really enjoyed the live action Lion King. I did not expect to. I haven't really enjoyed a lot of the live action stuff that Disney has done, but this was one that I thought was pretty cute, and I will enjoy the next one as well, I have a feeling. So time will tell, but as long as my girls love it, hey, I'm gonna have a great time with it. With that, we're going to go into our next and final segment of the show, which is, of course, Our meme of the week. Our meme of the week this week comes from Nailhood, and it is the one that got the most reactions this week over on the Memes and Goofs channel. We have a snowman. It starts snowing, and the snowman looks complacent and says, "Flesh falls from the sky again." I thought this was so funny, absolutely hilarious. I had never even considered that snowmen and snow were made of the same thing, and so this is just him falling from the sky, but pretty great point. And I will never look at snowmen the same ever again. A good one, and I don't know if Nailhead has one meme of the week yet before, so congratulations if that is your first, Nailhead, but Memes and Goofs, if you would like to be considered for our meme of the week for the first episode of season 5, then I have a feeling we'll be doing the same model, which will be picking the meme from the past week before the show that has gotten the most reactions. So go to our Discord if you haven't already, Discord in the chat, or linked down below if you're over on YouTube, and make sure that you're posting in the Memes and Goofs section all your best ones, and if it gets the most reactions, then it will be the one that takes it to the end. All right. We're about ready to wrap up the show. DGC, any shout outs or anything you would like to say as we come to a close?
Just, if you haven't checked out Script Point, please do, as the new episode Omari will be dropping tomorrow.
Indeed. Great call out. I am always excited for Crypt Point to get another shout out and another chance, because I think that it's a fun channel and I'm excited for the possibilities with it. And we did talk about it last week, so you can always check out the last episode of Twig to learn more about it, because you got lots of downtime between now and the end of January to review on some past episodes of Twig, or just to keep on getting involved at Checkpoint, Crypt Point, or somewhere in between. Folks, this has been season 4 of Twig, your weekly, geekly, family-friendly nerdy news show, delivered live on twitch.tv/checkpointchurch each and every week. It has kept your family connected to the world of nerdy news. If you watched this far, hey, you probably enjoyed this one. So remember to give us a 5-star on your podcast app, click that like button, and recommend the show to all of your favorite nerds. Of course, when you recommend it, make sure you recommend them to start watching it again in January. Folks, we appreciate everybody that watches our show, that comments, that hangs out with us, that likes it, that shares, that subscribes to the channel, all those things. But we do want to give an extra special shout out to those that also help us to sustain this real life ministry financially. So to our financial subscribers over on Twitch, a special thank you goes out to Twilight27, Tina Christina P, Mindful Marlena, Nerd Pastor Nate, DGC 121996, Ed Dude 3452, Joanna the Scribbler, Sugar Haiku, Perspective, Xando Calrissian, Maybe 30 Bats, Scobie Church, Wizen Lemur, Buishly Animal Art, Trombone Dalek, Coyote 42, and Sneaky Pigs 633. And also Mayfly, who subscribed during the actual show. So with that, the question is there Twig next week? And the answer, of course, is a resounding no. No Twig next week. And for a couple weeks after, we will be sure to let you know when the next episode of Twig is coming out. Do not miss it. Make sure that you are subscribed to our YouTube channel. That is where the announcement video will go up, or on our socials, where we will also be announcing when the new season is about to begin. But as always, folks, for the past 4 seasons, we have always ended this the exact same way, and we will continue to do so with 3 things that we believe to be true about every single one of you. Whether you believe in God, don't believe in God, go to church, don't go to church, hate God, hate church, no matter what. We believe these 3 things to be true about you. Number 1, that God loves you, like really loves you. Number 2, that we love you, like really, really love you. And number 3, that we believe that you, yes, you matter. You're a person of sacred worth. The world's a better place. Why? Because you are in it. And a special chats in the clap indeed to DGC for a wonderful finale episode. Appreciate you and appreciate the support, and look forward to catching everybody around the Discord. Until next time, folks. Bye-bye.